Hello, everyone. This is Ordinary Beauty '07. I am an ordinary person made beautiful from within by my Creator, and the number 7 because it is God's number. I wanted to say good morning and just wanted to share a story with you that came to mind as I got up this morning and was praying. I was remembered, just brought to my remembrance a particular incident that happened when I was in New York about 11 years ago, and I just really wanted to share it, and it just brought me to tears and just the thought of it, and just God's goodness, and just that He's God, so no one knows the mind of God. His ways are so far away from our ways, and His thoughts are as well. And God's His holy word tells us that. But it doesn't take even that to let us know that God is definitely not on our level. We're here and He's way beyond what we could even conceive. So anyway, this is a very I don't even know what to say, but just that God is He's something, and He's far beyond what we can even conceive, and just begin to even try to understand where His mind is. And so anyway, I went to New York as part of what I do for business. I went to a convention there, and when I got to the convention, they were teaching classes, so we're actually doing physical classes. So it was in a building. When I got to New York, I was staying at the W Hotel. And if anyone who knows about the W Hotel, there was at the time, I don't know how it is now, but there was at least, I know for sure, at least 3 W's in a row. And I was staying at the one that was at the top end, and I'm not sure what that's called, but anyway, that was the more modern W, and then I know there was like a Tuscan W, and then there was another W, and they were all on the same street, like down from each other, but they had different concepts and decor and things like that. So anyway, I got put in a room with 3 other ladies, and they were from different parts of the world. I want to say I went from the world. I would say we were from different areas. So one was from Canada. I believe one was from like Iowa, and I can't remember where the other one was from, but no one was from New York. So we were roommates for the weekend, and we all had our own different schedules. And then we would all group back up because we would do like dinner together, and we would do like they would have places where you come back together. So you would do your separate classes that you signed up for, and then you would have like the particular performances and things, and the convention hall where there would be events and stuff that we would all come back together with. So this particular day, I was going to take a class, and none of my roommates were going to take that particular class. This is before the days of Uber. This is before the days of having any type of navigation. You didn't have navigation on your phone. And for the most part, though, we had the flip phone. So if you know from those days, you did not have internet on those phones. And you were lucky if you had any type, or you were able to even look at the internet, just to even look at it on those days. And I believe you may have been able to check email. But anyway, I caught a taxi to go to the particular place. And I remember when I was in a taxi, how far it was. I know I was in, I think they call it Upper New York. And where I was going was somewhere away from that. And I remember just being in the cab for a while. So when I got there, I went up, and in the building, this particular building, they have it where you enter in on, I think it's the 2nd floor, but they call it the 1st floor. And then you go up. So where the particular space that I was actually having my class, I believe, was somewhere like the 10th floor. And so anyway, I remember getting on the elevator, and there was somebody that pushed the button and helped us to get up to that level. And once we got to the level, we took our class and everything. And I remember it was time to leave. Every time we would leave, they would tell us we had to take the freight elevator down. And so there was somebody on the freight elevator that would take everybody down to the floor that we came in on, and they would leave. So when my particular session was over, I did not want to wait for the the freight elevator, because so many people were in line waiting and it took a while. So I was thinking I would use my super brain and be uber smart, and I was going to just go back on the elevator where I came. So I went to go try to do that, but that elevator wasn't working. So I decided I'd take the stairs down. So I went down the stairs, and I remember just going down flight till I got to the first floor. And when I got to the first floor, I was walking through the building, and what I noticed was there were office building, like it was office rooms and stuff, but there was not one person in any of the rooms. So it was pretty, it was like there was like light in the hall, but the rooms were not occupied. So I just remember thinking that was so weird. No one was on this level. And I'm trying to find the first level, but I can't, because at this point, whatever level that I have walked onto is not accessible from the stairway from where I can see anyway. So when I got down I counted 10 floors down and noticed there was no way out that way. So I walked to the very end of the hall because I saw exit sign. And as I opened the door, I was in like a corridor thing, and there was a doorway out, but it had a chain on it. And I pushed it, and I could see like the sidewalk. So indeed I was on the level of a sidewalk, and people actually like was able to see me through like the little slit in the door from where the chain, because it was like loose. And I was just thinking, if I could just slide through this, I could get out of here, but I couldn't. And there was a sign on the wall, and the sign said that it was a beeping going on, and it said that it was activated by motion. So when you hear this like beep, it's activated by a motion that it's hearing. And at the time it was beeping because I was there, and I was like, okay, well, this is not the way out. So I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to take the elevator and go back upstairs. And I'm just going to ride the freight elevator because I don't know where I am. So I went back, and I was walking through the hall, and I remember just getting closer to the elevator, and I heard it beeping. Like I heard the sound of that thing that was saying if there was motion, it would beep. And I'm like, well, I know no one's on this level but me, and it's beeping. So that I was anxious, and I started becoming afraid. Now I'm trying to get to the elevator and push the door, and I'm like pushing it, and nothing's happening. And my heart is racing because I know I'm the only one on this floor. So if something else is down here, if a person or anything, someone's not supposed to be in here, is in here, they could do anything to me and no one would know, because no one knew that I took that, the stairs down. So anyway, the elevator was not coming down. Nothing was happening. So I guess they shut it off. Well, anyway, there was like a little sliver in the door, and I was able to get back into the door. So I walk up to the second stair. I peep out. There's no people. The third floor has no people. And at this moment, what I'm realizing is I could just look through that. The door had that long rectangular like viewpoint where you could look through, but I can't open the door to get in those places. It is locked. So literally that stairway, it's not like you cannot access those other levels from that stairway, but you can look through and you can see. And I start to call from the memory of my phone. Like I remember the last place I dialed, and I'm hitting it so that I could tell them I'm in the stairway, and no one's answering it. And I am freaking out. And I get back to the level, like at this point I'm running up the stairs, and I get back to the level of where the actual class was being held. And there was, I guess when I went downstairs, the door must not have fully closed behind me, because it I mean, it just enough that it didn't suction all the way closed. It was like on the brisk of that. So I was able to push the door open and come back in. When I got back in, I was panicky, and I was like, wow, like this is dangerous, that to have a building that's only occupied on one floor from what I could tell and no other floors, and not have a sign that says don't go this way or whatever the case might be. So I was pretty shaken, and I just wanted to get out of the building. So at this point, I was okay, and I was happy to wait for the freight elevator. Nobody knew what happened, and I waited in line for the freight elevator, went out the building, and went down. So this was a weekend. When I got out, I was still just kind of like disheveled about what happened. And at this point, I just want to get back to my hotel. And I'm just thanking God that only He allowed for those doors the way they were and everything for me to get back into where I was. And I was thankful because nobody would have known. And I didn't even know what the name of the building was to tell anybody where I was. Even if I called 911, which was going to be the next resort, I didn't know even how to tell them what building I was in. But anyway, so God worked it out and I was able to get out. So now I'm just going to catch a taxi and tell them I'm at the W Hotel. And when I get out, I'm looking at all these taxis going past, and there are the no sign, like there's not one taxi that is gonna allow me to come in because it says, I believe, no occupancy. So every taxi that I come upon or that passes me says no occupancy, so I can't catch a taxi, and I'm trying to figure out why. And so as I'm walking, and I'm just starting to walk at this point. I don't even know where I am. I don't even know how to get back to my hotel. Someone says it's because it's the weekend and it's very hard to get a taxi on the weekend. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So literally, I just start walking. I just figure, I mean, thank God it wasn't raining. Thank God it wasn't too cold. I'm just going to walk. So I just took my time just walking. I was just walking. I didn't have a rhyme or reason to where I was going, I was just walking because I figured I would walk and keep walking, and eventually I would find a cab that was not occupied. But I've walked for about 30 something minutes and I could not catch a cab. I just still had hope that eventually I would find a cab that had the non-occupancy sign. So I had kept walking, and it was almost like an hour had passed. And I remember I just was walking, and then all of a sudden I walked up on Times Square. And I remember this peace came over me. And the reason why was because at this point I was familiar with something. I used to live in Connecticut, so we used to travel down and come to New York, and I knew we used to visit Times Square a lot. So when I got there, it felt like hope again. Like I was in a place that I knew where I was. And then I remember there was a salad place, so I went and I just said, well, since I still don't know how to get back to where I was at, I'm going to go to the salad place right here and get something to eat. And I sat down to eat. So what I knew was that I wasn't that far from the W. I didn't know how far, but what I knew is, I think it was the day before we had went, my roommates and I had went to Times Square to eat downtown, and I remember we passed like some donut shops and some other stuff coming, and we went down there, but we were so busy just moving around and doing different things, trying to see different sights, that I wasn't paying attention to where we were, because we all, number one of the girls that was from New York was there visiting some of the other girls that were in the hotel, so she knew where she was going, so there was no need for us to even care where we were, because we had an official New York, resident that knew exactly what she was doing. So but at that time she wasn't with me. And what I forgot to mention is, before I even made it to Times Square, I remembered in the same person, the girl who was taking us around New York, we had went to another event, and she had taken us there. But I remember her saying something about when you get on the subway, that you can get in on the front or the back or the middle, and depending on where that stops, you will get off and you'll be at a totally different area. And I'm from Atlanta, so we have the MARTA. And the MARTA, when everybody gets off one section of the train, and you're all at the same stop. If you get off, you're going to get off at the same stop. You're not going to, depending on where you are on your train, you're not going to be at different locations. So I decided I would try maybe to get on this train and see. I don't know what I was thinking. I paid for to get through, to get on the train. And I could just feel God just saying, ask somebody, where you going? Ask somebody. And I remember just looking at people, just thinking I don't want to ask this person, or that person doesn't look like they know, or whatever. And then finally, as I was walking these kids, I saw a group of kids, and I asked them. And then they said, you don't want to get on this train, because this train is going to New Jersey. And if you get on this train, you will not be able to stop until you get to New Jersey. And I would not have even known that I was going to New Jersey. I called my husband, because he lived in New York in his younger years, and I was trying to get him, but he was at a baseball game and he didn't know where I was. And he wasn't even in New York. He was in a whole nother state, at a tournament with my kids. So I was so frustrated. I walked out of the subway, and that's when I started walking again. And that's when I came on Times Square. So I was eating my salad, and I didn't know what was next. And then after I ate my salad, I decided to when I came out, I was going to turn left, and I just started turning. I just turned left, and I was walking. And this couple, they weren't from New York. They were in front of me. I don't even know how it happened, but they just happened to come, and everybody was walking. And this one particular couple, I don't know. They stopped the lady and they asked her right in front of me, what way is something? And the lady was like, just turn left and go that way. And I don't know why, but I decided to turn left with them. And I was just walking. And then I saw the donut shop. And I kept walking. And I saw the W Tuscan. It was right there. When I turned down that street, that was the street of my hotel. I was at a crossroad. I could have went straight. I could have went right. I could have went left. Behind me was not my hotel. Right there, right as I got ready to cross that intersection, the couple asked this lady, I don't know what prompted me to turn left with them, and I did. It's like God put an internal beacon inside of me, like a remote control or something, to guide me all the way back to my hotel. When I passed that Tuscan hotel, And the other W. Oh my gosh, when I saw that W to my hotel, the relief. Because I was out of my element and I was by myself. And the thought of what could have happened to me and no one would have known anything. When I left where I was, my understanding is later is that I was not even in Upper New York anymore. I was somewhere else. The fact that I was able to walk from wherever I was and specifically be directed. And it wasn't like I just walked down and I just made a turn and then I made a turn and I just kept walking. I was walking. So I would turn different places. When I got in the taxi to come to the particular place, we took so many turns and we went up and we went everywhere. I mean, we were in that cab for a very long time. I just remember thinking, like, how much longer before we get here? And the taxi driver didn't even know, because I thought that if you just give them an address, they know. But for some reason, this particular one, he was kind of having a hard time finding. And so when God brought that back to my remembrance this morning, all I could do was just cry. Because a sovereign God who's seated on the throne in heaven knew my thoughts and my distress. And the prayers of my mom, and the prayers of my grandmother-in-law, and the prayers of my grandma, and the prayers that we pray over our family. We plead the blood of Jesus over us when we leave. We ask that the Lord keep us from hurt, harm, or danger. And that he will lead us and guide us. So this is it's a story I wanted to share. Because there's no way. The funny thing is, I didn't even get an unction, like, turn over here, do this the way I did it. The way my mom said she did when she found me that time in one of my previous videos. It was almost like curiosity where I turned and went up a certain street. I didn't feel anything. I thought I was just walking. Sorry. I just wanted to give God the glory this morning. And I just want to share this with you all. Because it just brought back to I already know how awesome and amazing he is. But I just want to share it. And it just brings back just to the forefront that God is God. I won't take this from him. He did this. God did this. And so to God be the glory. I know I'm not the only one who has had these amazing stories like this, but I wanted to share my YouTube channel, and I love to go back and just I like to go back and look at my videos because it's a blessing to me to see what God is doing and who he is. So I really pray that this blessed you, because it touched my heart this morning just to go back and have that memory. It's beautiful, and I'm thankful for it. And so I really thank God who he is and what he does. So if you have a story, you all know I always tell you in the comment section. I would love to hear it. Do know that you're not here on your own, that there is a loving, a wonderful creator that loves you, that wants to see you find your way back. He's so good. And so Sorry, someone's trying to call. And so I'm going to end this video with just saying thank you for watching. And when you have those type of occurrences or things happen to you, just know that it is a God, that there's a God directing you, and it's just not coincidence. There's no way. We gotta give him the glory. We gotta give him the thanks. We gotta come to our senses and say this is not something that is just happen chance. It just doesn't. It's not. That was God. So anyway, I give him the praise, honor, and all the glory. And I thank you all for watching. I love you with the heart of Christ. I thank you so much. And I pray to see you in the next video. Have a blessed one. Until then, bye-bye.